Hey you guys, Marlyn with Beautiful Bina Designs. I'm here today with another card share video. I will be sharing several cards I made using the July 2018 My Monthly Hero Kit. This is a county fair theme and it was a lot of fun to work with. You may have seen my unboxing. I was really excited about the background die that came with this set. And in fact, I did a little video that I called Crafting with My Sidekick Max, where my son and I made several backgrounds using that background die. I did enjoy that video. I think it was a fun one. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see it, but we each made several backgrounds, and Max has told me that this weekend, today is Thursday, this weekend he would like to turn his backgrounds into cards. So there may or may not be a follow-up to that video. It really just depends on how serious Max is about coming back to the camera, but he really did want to make that last video. He had asked me several times and it was a lot of fun to do it. So getting back into today's video, these are only the cards that I made. I will not be presenting anything that Max made today, but I do have several cards. I think it was 11, I believe it's 11, possibly 12, and then 2 postcards using those postcards that came with the kit. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Here is one of the backgrounds I made during that video with Max. And this one, Enjoy the Ride. I used the roller coaster stamp, that background die. I used some Distress Oxide inks and treated them with water. And then I came over top with several gems. These are rose gold. I'm not sure of the brand name. I did get them from Simon Says Stamp, and I'll leave a link below just in case anybody's interested. They are, I don't know if iridescent's the right word, but you see different colors depending on which angle. So I guess iridescent would be the right word, but sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're yellow. They're really cool gems, and the little set comes with several different sizes. So I enjoyed working with that. Here we have craft and yellow. It seemed like this month yellow was my favorite color. So Enjoy the Ride, card number 1. Here we have Ticket to Fun, Come One, Come All. I used several of the stamps and dies that came in the kit, as well as stamping over and over in the background that Ticket to Fun and embossing it with a clear embossing powder. And then this frame is actually created using the same craft cardstock, but I went over it with that white unicorn ink that came with the kit. I went over that with a blending tool and then rubbed away so that we could get the image of that clear embossed Ticket to Fun repeated stamp behind. This is really just one sheet that I die cut and popped up the outer frame. Inside we have Happy Birthday. Spoiler alert, you guys, I used several of these wobbles with this kit. I just felt like a fun kit like this was screaming for those wobbles. So here we have card number 2, Ticket to Fun, birthday card. Card number 3, Hello, Hello, stamped all over a black cardstock, die cut cardstock. I did use, let me see if I can get a little bit closer here. I did use, I always seem to go the wrong way on the camera, you guys. I apologize for that. I did use Distress Oxide inks, and then once again, I went over with heat embossing in a clear embossing powder. For this one, I used a bunch of little tiny confetti stars that I happen to have in my stash. I don't have a brand name or anything. There's nothing particularly special about them, just multicolored stars. I did use a patterned paper from my stash as the card panel, and then I used, I believe it was Rusty Hinge Distress ink to, I put that Distress ink on an acrylic block, used it as a watercolor, and just did my best to have that Hello There stamp die cut out using the die from the kit. I wanted it to match the card panel patterned paper that I had selected. So here is my hello card, number 3. This one, this background was my absolute favorite, and I had super high hopes. I'm happy with the outcome on this card. Again, I used one of those wobblers on the Ferris wheel. Love that. Ticket to Fun, some black sequins. If you didn't see the video where I created the backgrounds, I used the inks. Everything that you see here came in this kit outside of the black ink, which I used a VersaFine. Everywhere you see black ink here, it's my VersaFine. I just love how crisp those impressions are. And then I used that silver sparkle embossing powder that came in our March kit. I added the paper, obviously, and some sequins. Everything else you see came in the kit, the stamps, the dies, and these red reactive and blue reactive inks. These I put down on the paper with a brush, and I didn't blend it so much as just dab it on, and I kind of liked the effect that I got by doing that, by kind of just stamping it on with that brush. And it gave me sort of a feel of fireworks. I used the fireworks stamp that came in the kit to accent that. I'm very happy with this card, whereas the background was my favorite background I created. I would not consider this my favorite card, but I do enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. A lot of fun making this one. Again, using that background die that I still absolutely love. Here we have one, I'm here for you through ups and downs. This blue that you see is the blue reactive that came in the kit. Once again, I used a brush to apply it to white cardstock. I did it with sort of a gradient design. This one I did brush back and forth, and I did it obviously a little bit lighter on the bottom, a little bit more, I used a little bit more force here to give it a more intense color up at the top, creating that gradient, and then I splashed some water over it. I used the firework, popped up the Ferris wheel, white embossed the sentiment, and use that silver sparkle as well as some, I believe it's the Ranger gold. So yes, that is the Ranger gold embossing powder, super fine detail. And then I added gems to the center of each firework, the center of the Ferris wheel, and then a few of the tiny gems just here and there across that background. I used a black card panel to mat the image, or the scene, I should say, and then I placed that on a white card base. And that is card number, I'm definitely going to lose track here today, card number 5. Card number 6 is a lot of fun, but I didn't necessarily leave enough depth in here. So it's another one where it says, I'm here for you through ups and downs, and I put some of those hot air balloons inside there. When these hot air balloons are floating around individually, as this one is, there's plenty of room and they slide all over the place. But occasionally they kind of stack up and they get a little bit stuck. So if I were to make this again, just to save myself a little bit of headache, I think I would add double layer of fun foam, adding a little bit more of thickness to this window. But regardless of that, I really do like this card. I used that background die once again, but I used the reverse pieces of it. So the pieces that you would normally pop out and throw away are what I used to create this card. I used a circle die here in the center, added some of those hot air balloons. I watercolored these with Distress inks, and then I put some Wink of Stella over top to give a little bit of sparkle to each of those hot air balloons. I then added some white Blizzard Nouveau glitter drops, and using some heat embossable acetone sheets, I added a white cloud on top of this acetone. And then I also added a balloon right over here. Again, when you kind of separate those, which I had done earlier, they have a tendency to get stuck again. I would go with a double double up on that fun foam. But I do think this is a cute idea. I think it's a lot of fun. And then I have some butterfly, some iridescent butterfly confetti in there. So overall, a really fun card. And I used the reactive blue ink that came with the kit to create that background that you see behind the window. Next card we have, this is among my favorites. I really did enjoy this yellow background that I created. I used a couple different shades of yellow Distress Oxide, including Squeezed Lemonade, Wild Honey, I believe it was, which is even maybe a little bit into the orange family, but I did use it here. That's the deep tones you see. And then I used some antique linen to kind of tone it down and even it out. I then cut out that background die and mixed and matched a few of these pieces here. I added some heart-shaped sequins as well as some circular sequins, also in different shades of yellow. I came in with the Wild Honey and used it as a watercolor to color in the word world. Popped up one of these Ferris wheels. I think, looking back on the cards, that this Ferris wheel was probably my favorite image that came in this month's kit. But you make the world go round with this tone-on-tone, beautiful yellow card. That's the next one that I have to share with you. And I don't remember every time all of the specific colors and all of that, but if ever you have a question regarding my products or my process, I absolutely invite you to leave a comment below. I always respond to my comments, and I love hearing from you guys. So here's another one. Here's an example where I created 2 cards with one background. This one is very simple. You make the world go round. I didn't even color it in. I used some gems that I had on hand just to give it a little bit of bling. I had cut out, using that background die, I had cut out this background using white cardstock. I then took the background, placed it over another piece of white cardstock, uncut, and sprayed some of that Seafoam shimmer spray that we received in last month's kit, and I was able to create a negative image of this background. So I made 2 cards using this cutout. This one I think is my favorite of the 2. It is very simple, but sometimes that's exactly what you need. You make the world go round. You give that to somebody, probably make their day. Next card I have is the other one I made. Here I had taken that background die cut, placed it over some white cardstock before I sprayed that Seafoam shimmer spray, and I got this background. I did purposely put it a little bit off to the side. I didn't want it to be centered. I wanted to give it a little bit more interest, and I wanted to keep it really just with the 2 colors. Enjoy the ride. I think this is a fun summer card, and I am pleased with the way that it came out. I used my wonky die here. I used some dark royal, just shy of navy blue cardstock to mat this panel. And I used some Nuvo. I love this. I just recently purchased it. Nuvo Blue Odyssey embossing powder for the images. All of these images you see here, the fireworks, the hot air balloon, enjoy the ride sentiment. This is beautiful. This is the first time I had used it, and I am very happy with it. So there is the next card I wanted to share with you. Now we're getting into my favorites. These I think are my 2 favorites. Here I took a white card panel and I embossed with, again, this Ranger gold embossing powder. You make the world go round. I embossed it. I stamped it several times, embossed it with the gold, cut out that panel. Actually, before I cut it out, I added the color. I used some Distress inks, the regular Distress inks as watercolor. I used a very thick brush. Here's the one that I used. I added a bunch of water and just did like really very abstract broad strokes in these 3 different colors. I was really happy with the way it came out. Then I die cut the rectangle. I added this onto a white card base. If you haven't seen my videos previously, I do use the Cougar Digital 110 pound card stock as my card bases. And I just took, before I put the card panel onto the card base, I took my embossing ink, dragged it across the corners, used the same embossing powder so everything would match and come together nicely. And one of my favorite techniques, I guess for lack of a better word to use, is this inlaid die cutting. I love when you have an inside and outside card. You get a really cool effect without really too much effort. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck with this. So I did that here. And once again, I used one of those little wobbles. I just love them. They're so much fun. And then I put a blue gem here to kind of match this blue on the bottom. But really with those rainbow colors, the white and the gold, I think this is very clean, very fresh, very fun. That's another card. This is my absolute favorite card that I created, and everything here came from the kit with the exception of, once again, my VersaFine black ink and my papers. I used that Cougar Digital again as my white. I used this blue paper that I'm using is actually a Recollections 65 pound. That I don't use that as card bases, but I will sometimes use it for matting or for accent pieces. All of the coloring you see was done as watercolor using that reactive red and that reactive blue that came with the kit. Stamps and dies, a lot of fun, very simple. I really like this one. It's a fun summer hello, and I really didn't use hardly anything outside of the kit. So it does go to show you what you could do without many. So if you're a new card maker, I guess is what I'm saying, and you don't have many supplies of your own, you really could purchase one of these kits and just get right to card making. You don't need a ton of supplies, which I think is really great when it comes to these card kits. Finally, I'd like to share with you what I did with 2 of the 3 postcards that we received as part of the kit. I did try to keep these single layer so that they could be mailed as postcards. So there's no dimension to these. The first one is Hello There. With both of these, I used some colored pencils. Here I used, as you can see, the hot air balloons, the clouds, and then that Hello There stamp. Now, when I stamped the airplane, I didn't get a perfect impression. That was my fault. I just didn't press it down as well as I could have. So I did take a white gel pen and come back in and just add a little bit of detail, including a propeller. I just thought that would be fun, so I went ahead and I added that. I used my Prismacolor colored pencils, and I added a little bit of white and a little bit of these pastel colors, and then I came back in with a Prismacolor blender pencil and really just created those subtle colors by spreading them across this chipboard and creating these soft images. I then came back in with some Morning Dew Nuvo crystal drops. These are clear, they dry clear, and I just gave a little bit of shine to the hot air balloons as well as the Hello There banner. This is postcard number 1, and if you haven't seen the mailing side of these are adorable. I am actually really looking forward to mailing these. I have never made something just like this before, and I love it. I think it's great. Next and finally, my second postcard. For this one, I used that silhouette stamp. It's very nice, that county fair silhouette stamp with the roller coaster and the Ferris wheel, the water tower. There's a windmill over here. Come one, come all. Before I even stamped these images, I had stamped the frame, and I probably should have done that after as well, but you live and you learn. I think we all learn something every single time we create a new project. I wish that I would have added all the stamping after I had completed the color blending. I came in with some Distress Oxides, and I blended them out nicely. I used a yellow, a red, and a blue, but I blended them together really well, very subtle. And then I used a baby wipe because, again, these Distress Oxide inks are water reactive. Rather than adding sprinkles, I used a baby wipe and kind of just wet the whole thing. And it became very chalky, and it got that very oxide look that these inks are famous for. And I really love that, but it did dull a little bit of this frame stamp. So that's why I would have done that after. I tried to come back in with my heat tool, and some of that shine did come back as a result. So that was a good trick, but it's not really 100%. After I had done all of that ink blending, came over it with the baby wipe. I did use a wet baby wipe and really just got all of that oxidized. I added my sentiment, I added my clouds. Once again, I used my Prismacolor color pencil. For this card, I used only the white. I added that into each of the clouds, blended it out a little bit, and then went over it with the white Blizzard Glitter Nuvo drops. That is my favorite, absolute favorite Nuvo drop, is this white Blizzard glitter. It does ultimately dry clear, but with tons of sparkle. I really love that. And then I pulled in one sticker from my stash from a recent card kit that was not My Monthly Hero kit, but a different card kit that says, yes, please. Just summer, fun, fairs, family, yes, please, come one, come all. And again, another one of these great postcards that I really look forward to mailing. I think I may share this particular one with my sister. That is everything that I have to share with you guys for today. Thank you for stopping by. I love hearing from you. I truly appreciate your comments. Any questions or feedback, please leave it below. I may or may not be back with a card from Max. That's really up to him and whether or not he decides to make something this weekend. But several of you left really great comments for Max, and he loved them. I shared all of them with him, so thank you so much for that. I hope that you've enjoyed the time that you spent with me today. And as always, I hope that my videos inspire you to make beautiful things. If you like what I've shared with you today, please hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm having so much fun crafting with you guys. I also have a Facebook page where I invite you to share with me some of the things you've made, whether you've used this kit or really anything else. I love to see what other people are making. I love to collaborate and to trade ideas. So I'll leave a link to my Facebook page as well. And I hope to see you guys again soon in a future video. Thanks so much for stopping by. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.